Heyo, and what is up, gang? Thank you for checking out Sledgehammer TV today. NXT's first live episode of the year kicks off the 5th edition of the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic. It has the return of Johnny Gargano, a new #1 contender for the North American Championship title, is crowned as NXT starts 2020 with the pedal to the metal on the road to NXT TakeOver Portland, and we are here to talk about it right here and right now. My name is Nick Nightmare, and you are watching the Sledgehammer Wrestling Show's NXT Review and Reaction Show. Let's do it.
Sledgehammer Wrestling Show.
Of the 4 major nationally televised professional wrestling brands in the world, it is very easy for me to sit here and tell you that this week's edition of NXT was the best show of the week. There wasn't a lot of nonsense. Everything, for the most part, that happened on this show had meaning, and it culminated in great wrestling and wonderful storytelling. That means when you miss an episode of NXT from one week to the next, you're going to be missing a lot, which is not something that we are getting very often from any of the other shows on television. Maybe NXT's only true competition lies in the form of NWA, but that's another story for another day. This show, though, is not without its little bit of missteps. As you know, our point of being here is to tell you guys everything wrong with even an awesome episode of NXT like we got this past January the 8th. And the opening of the show with the NXT Women's Champion, the new Women's Champion, Rhea Ripley. Great idea. It was great. She was going to address the crowd. She seemed a little bit nervous. She doesn't seem that comfortable on the mic, but Rhea Ripley's presence alone screams champion. She's everything Becky Lynch wishes the man could have been. In fact, when Becky looks into the mirror, I'm pretty sure what she sees is the reflection of a red-headed Rhea Ripley. It's just so many leaps and bounds better than what the character of the man is. Rhea Ripley is real. She's the nightmare. She's bringing a whole new edge to the women's division, and she's got a little bit of work to do, but that's what NXT is all about, right? It's all about developing new characters. And we've seen the confrontation between Rhea Ripley and Toni Storm. This was fine. I liked this. Toni Storm, at the When Worlds Collide event, is going to be getting a shot at the NXT UK Women's Champion, Kaylee Ray. And if she wins that match, she will win the championship and is going to go head-to-head with Rhea Ripley, champion versus champion, at When Worlds Collide. Great way to set all this up. Great way to build interest into When Worlds Collide. Everything is going according to plan. And then Kaylee Ray comes out, and I'm fine with this as well because she has some involvement with Toni Storm. So her coming out, talking trash and telling her nobody's going to be getting past me and I'm going to be the one fighting Rhea Ripley at When Worlds Collide is all great. But then we venture into main roster-like territory, and they start to bring out every top woman in the women's division of NXT right now. So we see Io Shirai come out, we see Bianca Belair come out, we got Candice LeRae coming out, and now we have 6 women in the ring, which means the show's going to kick off with a 6-woman tag team matchup. And it's kind of unnecessary. I feel like you could have ended the whole thing after Kaylee Ray comes out. You could have had a stare down between the 3 women, and then you could have booked maybe a tag team matchup or do something to feature these other girls outside of the World Championship scenarios. I wish that what they would do is focus on the 2 main characters in the story. In this case, it will be Rhea Ripley and Toni Storm. Focus everything on that if that's what you're going to be building towards. Allow that to breathe and give it some room from everything else that's going on. There's no need to overcrowd the situation at the top. You should be having these other women fighting each other, earning their way and earning the possibility of being next in line because obviously the spot's already taken. Right? Rhea Ripley's already got the championship, and there's already a viable challenger. She's got a big-time match coming up, but she's got to defend the title, so that should be where all the energy is focused towards. All this other stuff and the 6-woman tag that would follow just seems to be like a disservice to everything that's going on. And all of the women involved on the heel side of the equation are only going to suffer, because obviously they're going to get the loss here. Bianca Belair taking the loss for her team in this scenario doesn't go over well with me. You should be building Bianca Belair side by side with what's going on in the championship scenario. It shouldn't all just be, well, let's just throw all the girls together since we don't know what else to do with building up a number one contender. But then on the same show, you're going to announce that there's a battle royal next week for a new number one contender. And I'm sure all of these women are going to play a part in it. But I think that would have been much better served to tell that story separate from what was going on with the girls at the beginning. It was very intense, and I was actually, enjoying the back and forth between Toni Storm pointing out that she's been able to beat Rhea Ripley twice already, and it got very intense. And then Kaylee Ray coming to stand her ground like, don't overlook me. That was great, but then it just became a circus to book a 6-woman tag to start the show, which was okay, but it led to a loss for Bianca Belair, which, like I mentioned, I didn't like. Due to miscommunications by the heel team, Belair gets caught in the riptide for the 1-2-3, and while it started off good, I didn't enjoy where it ended up. I feel like everything should be a little bit more separated with the women. It's almost like the opposite of what's going on the other shows. It's like they're afraid to put everybody together over there, but in NXT it's just like everybody crowd around the champ. And it's taking the focus away from the women who earn their way at the top. It shouldn't always be about everybody. Let's focus in on what's really important. And that's the champ's first title defense and who's going to be next in line. As 2 separate stories. Not as one jumbled mishmash of a situation. A lot of great vignette interviews tonight. None greater than the 2-part Tommaso Ciampa promo, which was very well done, excellently executed, worded almost perfectly. It was so intense. It was deeply meaningful. You could feel Ciampa's energy flying through the television, and it's almost as if you were automatically just sucked in. You just couldn't turn away. The man had your attention, and he held it. He nailed these promos. His obsession with reclaiming his Goldie is real. He's obsessed with it. He never lost his championship. Adam Cole was handed everything that he had worked so hard to achieve. It was masterful. It was masterful. And as an outsider watching, you're going to believe that if you're Adam Cole, you're going to be scared as shit right now. This is the truest threat to dethroning Adam Cole that he has ever faced. The man is hell-bent on getting back what is his, and these promos were fantastic. We also had, on this night, all 4 competitors in the main event that were vying for a shot at the North American Championship, staking their claim, making meaningful promos, saying how they are guaranteeing that they are going to be the one to win. Making it feel important. Making you believe that each one of them wants this more than anything else. Cameron Grimes acting like a lunatic, talking nonsense, babbling in the back, and he's just so consumed with getting this opportunity. Keith Lee talking trash, saying that it's time for the North American Championship to become limitless. Dijakovic staked his claim. Everything was done very well. And I even very much enjoyed Matt Riddle and Pete Dunne and the little story Matt Riddle told about how the Broserweights have come to be and that they are going to win this year's Dusty Classic. A lot of really quality interview segments, a lot of really excellently written stuff tonight. You don't get that anywhere else but here in NXT. Speaking of the Dusty Classic, Dusty Classic kicks off with the first match of the tournament, featuring the Imperium defeating the Forgotten Sons, which I've actually kind of forgotten about. I feel like the Forgotten Sons maybe had momentum when they began, but at this point they're only there to be looking up at the lights and putting over a team like the Imperium. This matchup, while it was a good tag team matchup, it was an extremely fast-paced encounter. It seemed to go by almost as fast as the entirety of The Rise of Skywalker. It was just like action, back, bop, bop, beat, beat, beat. And then it was done. And the Imperium would end up winning and advancing in this tournament. It felt very, very rushed, but they did a good job. The athleticism was fantastic. I'm really big on the Imperium. I think Eichner and the other guy, I forget his name right now, is just a fantastic team. I like what they bring to the ring. It's a very technical but very impactful style, and it comes off fantastic, and I love everything about it. Definitely a great match to kick off the tournament with. However, I wish it was just a little bit longer. Excuse me. Getting over a little bit of a cold myself right now. Austin Theory shows up in NXT. The guy looks great. He gets a one-on-one matchup with Joaquin Wilde, formerly DJ Z, Zima Ion, or whatever you want to remember him as. I feel like he's got some potential as well, and I didn't so much agree with him just being booked opposite Austin Theory here. We had another quick matchup, and I want to see more from these guys. Both of them really have a lot to offer. I think that Joaquin Wilde has a great character about him, and Austin Theory, like I said, has a great look, and they pulled off a pretty good matchup in the time that they were allotted, but it was really very quick, and it felt almost like a squash match, and I expected a little bit better of a match between these two guys. But when you're given what you're given, you got to do what you got to do, right? And Austin Theory is seemingly on the road to a big spot in NXT, and deservedly so. From what I hear about the kid, he's fantastic, and I can't wait to see a whole lot more. The second match in the Dusty Classic took place. It was a clash of champions, so to speak, as the NXT Tag Team Champions, the Undisputed Era, defeated Gallus, the NXT UK Champions. This was tag team wrestling at its finest. This was a hard-hitting, very athletic affair. It was nicely paced, not too many crazy, spotty situations, just solid, enjoyable, professional wrestling. The Undisputed able to isolate Wolfgang just long enough at the finish of this matchup to get the win after hitting the high-low. The Undisputed Era continues to roll on, continuing to fulfill the prophecy of Adam Cole as they continue to lay waste to everybody they come across. I really enjoyed this. I like the Gallus teaming. I think the NXT UK brand is seriously underappreciated and not focused on enough, because if they really have competition for NXT, it's actually in NXT UK, and you could see that in matches like this, where Gallus just show up out of nowhere, pull off a great tag team encounter, and it just was fantastic. This is why I watch wrestling, is exactly for matches just like this. A match where me sitting here telling you what happened would do it absolutely no justice. If you missed it, you got to go back and watch it, because the Undisputed, one of the best tag teams going today. Gallus, severely underrated. You might not be aware of them. Maybe you don't watch NXT UK, and that is one of the reasons, among many, why you should be tuning in to NXT. And if you missed this week's episode, you should definitely go back and check it out. Another reason why you should go back and check it out is because of the fantastic promo by the returning Johnny Wrestling, Johnny Gargano, coming back to NXT, trying to stake his claim and trying to get back at Finn Balor. He wants to have a match with Finn Balor so bad after Finn Balor failed to get the job done in eliminating Johnny Gargano from NXT at the last time these two locked up. It was a vicious DDT into the steel ramp that sent Johnny Gargano into the emergency room and off of NXT TV for quite some time. He has come back seeking his vengeance. Finn Balor not afraid. Finn Balor came right out to confront Johnny Wrestling, calling him Johnny Promo, congratulating him on how good of a promo it actually was. but saying that NXT is his chessboard. Nothing happens that Finn Balor does not want to happen. He has no problem facing off with Johnny Gargano at NXT TakeOver Portland. Stop crying about missing takeovers and come perform at TakeOver with me, essentially is what he said. Go talk to Regal and have the match made, and I'll see you there. And we are on the road to an epic confrontation between two of the biggest and best NXT competitors that there ever was. The story behind it is fantastic. Gargano's like defending the honor of NXT, talking about how Finn Balor just up and left to go to the main roster to be the extraordinary man, to do extraordinary things, and mocking him tremendously, saying that he got the same exact call to go to the main roster, but he chose to stay in NXT because when he says he loves something, he actually means it. It is a lot of intensity in these guys tonight, and it definitely hooked me in and got me interested in everything that they are going to be doing going forward. TakeOver Portland can't come quick enough just so that we can see Gargano versus Balor. It's going to be fantastic. May end up being one of the first contenders for match of the year before the year even really gets underway. It's going to be great. We've seen Mia Yim tonight defeat Kaden Carter. Kaden Carter is okay. Mia Yim is great. This was pretty much another fairly quick squash match in the women's division here, which was only booked to serve a greater purpose. This was not so much about the match as it was about what would happen after the match. Chelsea Green, NXT newcomer who showed up on Monday Night Raw for some reason a couple of weeks back, is here in NXT. She comes out and she attacks both Mia Yim and Kaden Carter, assaulting them both. Some guy named Robert Stone shows up, and he's announced that Chelsea Green is the first person that he has signed onto his exclusive Robert Stone brand. While I don't know who he is, nor do I really care too much at this time, this is an interesting prospect. There's a lot of factions going on in wrestling, especially over in AEW. We got a lot of things like this happening. So it'll be interesting to see how they can differentiate it from everything else. Apparently this guy's looking like an agent, like a Jerry Maguire style agent. It's going to be the Robert Stone brand. He's bringing these people on to represent his exclusive brand. It's a different way to go about it, and maybe it'll be interesting depending on who else he gets to add on to this brand. Might end up being crap, but Triple H knows his wrestling, and they're much better at telling stories here. So while I may not be interested in the onset, I'm sure something is going to happen eventually to hook me in. Chelsea Green, who I thought was going to be a babyface, being involved in this already has me interested to see where it's going to go. But this is touch and go territory. This could become unworthy very quickly if they go in too many obvious or, weird directions. But we'll have to wait and see how this all develops. They announced the number one contenders, Women's Battle Royal for next week, right before we go into the night's main event, which featured Keith Lee defeating Damian Priest, Cameron Grimes, and Donovan Dijakovic, which was a great match. This was a great fatal four-way, tons of action. Keith Lee, the clear crowd favorite in this matchup from the minute he came out to the minute the match ended. My only problem with this matchup, and maybe it's a timing thing because they are on TV, on the USA Network now, and they do have to put their commercials in, is just the fact that you didn't see the entrances of all four contenders. You would think in a number one contenders match, you wouldn't want to give a jobber entrance to a guy like a Damian Priest, even if they're going to end up putting over Keith Lee by the time things are done and they're not going to win. I feel like it would at least been nice to see everybody come out, and then you have that big match announcement, and then you commence with the festivities. But that's my only thing against this matchup. I don't think that was fair to everybody involved, but I guess, you got to pay the bills. The Limitless One did not disappoint. He will now move on to face the NXT North American Champion. This is going to be something special when Keith Lee finally gets his hands on some gold in the NXT. It's a long time coming, if you ask me, but they have this story they're telling with the Undisputed Era. This match tonight, everybody was able to get in some great stuff. Everybody stuck out and had a moment to shine. The offense was very equal. The finish was much like you'd expect, just Keith Lee overpowering everybody, ending up getting the win here tonight. A great episode overall. And NXT may not be winning in the ratings, and it may not be getting better ratings than AEW, but they are consistently putting on the better product. Better wrestling matches, better storytelling, better than everything else we've seen this week. The episodes, these 2 hours for NXT went by like phew. That's another way you could measure just how good the show was. It didn't drag on, and it didn't get boring, and everything that they showed you had meaning, from the build-up of all of the contenders for the number 1 contenders match, the confrontation between Gargano and Finn Balor, even the big mishmash women's thing at the beginning, focusing on all of the women's champions and what's coming in the future. It was all very well done. The 6-woman tag was a little lazy. It was a little lazy, and it just seemed a little bit too main roster for an NXT show. And I still wish they would separate everybody and let the championship breathe outside of everybody else and just focus on one singular feud and maybe 1 or 2 women involved in a triangle of sorts. That would be fine. But just throwing everybody in there and giving everybody shots all the time, it's a little bit lazy, even when it comes to that Battle Royal next week. Instead of building these women up simultaneously and giving us viable contenders, we're just going to have one match where we'll throw the entire women's division in there, and then whoever wins is the person we have chosen to move forward. So that's my only criticisms of the show. The Dusty Classic is bringing us some more great matches next week. We're going to see, for the first time, the Broserweights in action, and they're going up against the Grizzled Young Veterans. That should be a hell of a hard-hitting matchup. A lot to look forward to next week already, as they are going to go up against AEW's Bash at the Beach episode featuring Diamond Dallas Page. If you're wondering my thoughts on any of that and you missed the AEW review that went up earlier today, it is live on the channel for you guys to enjoy right now. The hammer comes down on everybody, even NXT. You know that no soul will be spared if you make me shake my head and think, man, they could have done this better. And I'm going to come here and tell you guys all about it. And I hope that you guys enjoyed it, just like I always do. Thank you guys so much for joining me again. This is going to be a very busy weekend. We haven't done an NXT review in a while. We got the SmackDown review going up later tonight. I have never put up 3 videos in one day, but I was falling behind, not feeling well, you know, family stuff, the kid being sick, everything just kind of got pushed back, so I apologize for how late everything has gone up, but let's get back to business, as we're going to bring the hammer down on SmackDown later tonight. Hope you guys enjoyed this review. Go back and check out the AEW review, and if you missed the Monday Night Raw hammering, boy, you don't know what you're missing. Go check that out right now, as well as our most important wrestlers of the last decade series, which will continue at some point. Like I said, we've been sick and we weren't feeling well, so everything kind of got delayed. But we are getting back on track, and we'll be getting some more episodes of that up to you guys as soon as possible as well. Thank you all for your continued love and support of the channel. The poop hammer of the evening goes to the women just being too overly involved with one another in that opening segment. Aside from that, not too much to bring the hammer down on in this NXT, but you could pick up your Poop Hammer t-shirt, still available through the end of January. Poop Hammer t-shirts still available. Sledgehammer TV logo t-shirts available in 5 splendorful wrestling colors. Splendorful? What am I turning into Matt Hardy over here? I don't know. Bonfire.com/store/sledgehammer-tv to pick up yours today. My name is Nick Nightmare. This is the team Thor the Sledgehammer, the official Sledgehammer of the Sledgehammer Wrestling Show. His tag team partner, the World Heavyweight Champion of all the microphones in all the world, Mr. Blue the Snowball. The most important member of the team, as always, is each and every one of you guys. If you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button right now. And don't forget to smash those notifications so that you don't miss it anytime an awesome wrestling video just like this one goes live on what is sure to be your new go-to home for entertaining and truthful professional wrestling reviews right here on Sledgehammer TV. That, my friends, is going to do it. We are out of here, and we will see you next time right here on your new favorite wrestling show, the Sledgehammer Wrestling Show, only on Sledgehammer TV, right here on YouTube.com. Boom.